GM, everybody, and welcome back to the Trading Floor, the thesis-driven show where we pick apart and challenge some of the smartest traders, investors, and builders in crypto. I'm Finn Miller, and sitting across from me over in the US of A is Mr. Thomas Bahamas. Thomas, how are you doing, sir?
GM, I am doing great. So seems like the trenches are feeling alive again today, right? So it feels like a good day to have a trading show. We've got Pump and FOMO with an incredible rivalry. Seems like they're fighting for trader attention, fighting for traders, fighting for everything, right? So I've seen Pump moving. We'll have to dive into that a little bit later. I think we have opposing views there. But yeah, coins are sending. I think there's a fun new product called pump.fun where we're seeing meme coins paired with tokenized stocks. So it's getting hard to keep up with, which is usually a pretty good sign when the market gets interesting, right?
It is indeed. It's cooking on-chain and it's cooking off-chain and TradFi as well, Thomas. NVIDIA has just been announced as part of a $500 billion capex spend with the likes of BlackRock, all kinds of other, massive TradFi names. NBS earnings have come through, and that's absolutely ripping off the back of that. It feels like in many ways the AI trade is back on, and even Citadel is saying, look, people are starting to ramp up the leverage again. Let's run it all back to all-time highs. Now, very quickly, for anybody who's new here, the format is very simple. Every guest brings us one trade. They defend the thesis, explain the execution, state their conviction, and they tell us why this trade could go wrong for them. Then Thomas and I put it through the paces. We look at every tiny little detail and we try and find holes in the trades that come onto the desk. Now, before we open any charts, quick bit of housekeeping. SolanaFloor is a subsidiary of the Jito network, and trades on the show may execute through JTX, Jito's trading exchange. Everything discussed on the show reflects the opinions of our hosts and guests and is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing you hear today is going to be financial or investment advice, and we may hold some of the assets discussed on the show. If you want any information about full disclosures, head over to the SolanaFloor website and you can see what me and Thomas are holding at the moment. That aside, Thomas, macro market in 30 seconds. Let's see. Very optimistic. It's been very choppy for a while. I think the blowout that we saw maybe a week ago has kind of been churned through. The volatility is starting to settle down a bit. It's been pretty quiet the last day or two. There hasn't been any massive movements that we've seen. But Citadel has come out. King Griffin has said, look, people are going to be hyper leveraging again. It's all kicking off. And like you mentioned, we've got Pump and FOMO in a desperate battle of attrition for Solana's on-chain traders. What are you seeing on-chain at the moment that's capturing everybody's attention?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have to address the elephant in the room that it looks like Pump might just be paying traders to move over from FOMO, right? I think FOMO has really caught the attention of a lot of people, right? We're seeing it grow like crazy. There is a incredible social aspect to trading, right? And I think that they really made the combination of trading and like a social graph really interesting, right? So, oh wow, we're seeing long or short Pump already. Do we go there already? We might have to wait a second, but yeah, I mean, Pump also, they decided that was the future, and they saw what they were doing, so they're building in their own social feed, right? They're paying traders to come over and trade with them, allegedly. We're not sure. They haven't come over and said that, but we're seeing, coins rip. We're seeing coins on FOMO. We're seeing coins on Pump. We're seeing attention back, right? It feels like we're back, right? Like I'm having trouble keeping up with group chats. There's thousands of messages in some of them. I feel like I should be trading more than I am, but I'm really not doing too much.
Sometimes sitting on your hands is indeed a trade, Thomas. Now, it's funny you mentioned this story about pump.fun paying traders to come on and use their platform instead of, going elsewhere, like FOMO, for example. I don't really see a big deal with this. To be honest, Nike and Adidas, they pay athletes all the time to exclusively rep certain brands. This doesn't seem like too scandalous of an issue for me. Would you have a different point of view there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that it looks suspicious. It sounds suspicious when you hear that, right? Like supposedly it's like a 20K signing bonus and 30K a month to trade on their platform. However, I mean, when it comes down to it, marketing dollars are marketing dollars, right? Whether you're paying Twitter for ads or you're paying Instagram, TikTok for ads, or you're paying the people that are actually making the trades directly. I think that that's something that pump.fun has always crushed, right? Is like they own their community super well, and they're like, I don't know. I feel like they have like their ear to the ground. So they know what's going on in the trenches, and they know like, hey, attention has moved. We're getting it back. We're getting the biggest guys to come on our platform and show off our trades. And we have to bring up the Dudas trade as well. Looks like he turned $1,000 into $2 million with this Toad coin. A very interesting outcome there. And I mean, shout out to Mike Dudas. That's a great trade, but I don't think he can ever sell at this point, right? It kind of turns into an Ansem like coin where, he holds a lot of the supply, but I mean that is something that was hard to avoid this week, right? If you're looking at crypto as a whole and somebody turned $1,000 into $2 million, that's a big story, right? We can't avoid that.
It's the kind of story that you love to see as someone who has been in crypto for a long time, because it is that rags to riches fairy tale that people do sell to people who are still not quite onboarded into crypto. Mike Dudas, greatest to ever do it. Guy opens up the Pump app, puts some coins into the first coin he sees, and all of a sudden he's up 2 mil. Look, obviously he's got a stupid amount of supply. He's not going to be able to sell it. Like, yes, there's a million reasons why this is not. This cannot be compared apples to apples with you or me going buying coins, but it's a great story nonetheless. I think what is remarkable, what needs to be said, is that until FOMO does something like launching their own kind of token launchpad, Pump is still very much ahead in this game, because even if you're trading on FOMO, the majority of the coins on Solana are still being traded on PumpSwap. So all that volume, all that flow is getting routed straight to them. This is something I mentioned on the previous Solana Weekly News clips, where it's basically Pump captures all the flow. Pump captures the animal spirits that come on chain. So until there is kind of a real competitor to that, changing the app on which you trade is not going to really make much of a dent in that dominance that Pump has built over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at it, Pump really owns the stack, right? Like they really do. They've built out a great business, and whether there's $1 million runners or there's just a bunch of coins being launched and that don't even graduate, they're still making money, right? You look at their revenue numbers and it's just too hard to avoid. So for those reasons, I am long Pump.
It's funny you say that, Thomas, because I'm actually short Pump just as of this morning. In a very quick turnaround, like I think it's an incredible business. I think they're going to do incredible long term. I think we've just hit a local high here. I think we've hit a little Pico tippy top. We're getting lower lows and we're getting higher lows. Coins like Toad, topped out at 20 mil, where in the past they might have gone to 50. And I mentioned earlier to you personally that Axiom is absolutely racking in revenue at the moment. It's doing twice as much as FOMO was. There was a time last week where FOMO actually flipped Axiom on 24-hour revenue. That tells me that it was very much social trading driven. It was driven by people onboarding, coming on, throwing cash around in ways that they weren't that familiar with. Whereas now Axiom has retaken that crown as one of the revenue champions of Solana, which tells us that people are back into this hyper PvP, cutthroat, competitive trenching style where people might be bundling 10% of a coin before it even graduates. So I think we're going to see less and less success stories, and that's going to mean that people are going to be less and less inclined to be trading meme coins. So combined with that, and with the lower lows, lower highs I mentioned earlier, I do think we probably see Pump cool off a wee bit for now, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't absolutely rip after in the future once momentum switches back again. So all that's kind of my broad overview of Pump at the moment. We do need to check the scoreboard, Thomas, because there has been a lot of trades that we've made in recent weeks.
Yeah, and you're probably pretty antsy to see this, right? Because the numbers look good for you, not so great for me.
Yeah, I've got a slight edge on you there, Thomas. Helped along the way by Zcash and a bit of Solana I picked up as well. Something I also did was I set a stop loss on Squire. Squire, one of the coins that got pitched by Squid a few weeks ago, went on an absolute tear. It went up by about 150%. That put me back in the positive, and I actually wasn't too sure about holding that one long term. So I've set a stop loss. It came back and hit it, and I notched a small, I think 10% gain on that one there. So good to have a winning trade in the book. And waiting for you to join me on that side, Thomas. What are you looking at?
Yeah, well, I mean, that Squire trade, that coin absolutely ripped, right? I think you were down for the week after Squid was actually talking about that coin, and then I saw it rip over 2x, within the span of less than a day. So well played there. Now, as far as my portfolio, we were talking about this before. Like, this is a pretty scattered portfolio when you look at it, right? Still I'm up on Jito, up on Lily. Shout out to Tulip King for that trade. He's still pushing the $5 trillion narrative.
I like it.
I tend to agree with that. He laid that out so well. Hood, we're pretty much break even on. Up a bit on ore. So shout out to the ore community. I know I was looking earlier, there's a mother load on there of over 700 ore. So
juicy.
So that's a pretty big one. It usually doesn't get that high. And yeah, just absolutely wrecked on some of these coins here. We've got the backpack coin, which I don't know. I mean, I like it. Backpack is a great exchange. I feel like if they keep pushing out these stocks and they're actually the better product, then I feel like this is actually like I'm fine holding this with a 16% loss. And then we get to ARX, Bonk, and Ket. And I mean, anything over a 20% loss, like I'm looking at why didn't I set a stop loss, right? We have all these capabilities, like why didn't we do that? Bonk has just been getting wrecked lately. I hate to see that. And I blindly aped Ket. So this is an example for all you out there to not just blindly ape a coin. It's still a funny cat. There's still great content, but I don't know if it's the best investment at this point,
Yeah, it's a good learning takeaway from that. That we have stop losses we should use, and that will protect us from a lot of downside in these cases. Something I did want to touch on is that you've got Jito there. That's up a healthy 9% after Andy came on and shielded us that one last week.
Yeah.
Full disclosure: SolanaFloor is a subsidiary of the Jito network, so no financial advice here. But that's a trade that has worked out quite well. Hoping to. Do you have any target set on when you might want to exit that one, Thomas, or do you want to set a stop loss to kind of cover your bases there?
You know what? Like, I know we just said we should have better execution on that one, but I'm giga bullish on Jito. So like I probably just want to hold this one through. We were talking earlier about the thesis of who accrues the value, right? Is it going to go back to the L1 token, or is it going to go to protocols, and especially like revenue generating protocols? So that's kind of the thesis behind the pump trade, right? Like I think that long term pump is going to be outperforming Solana, right? Like that's kind of the trade idea there. However, I think that also plays for Jito as well, right? They've got that proposal into, I think 80% of the revenue goes back to buying the token. Obviously, not financial advice. We are owned by Jito, but I think that the token is fantastic, right? They're one of the few teams that has come around and said, look, we're a token centric project, right? They make a lot of revenue. That revenue is going back into the coin. When I hear that and I look at that chart, it looks great to me, right? And I know that Andy from Cyberfrogs said that this is one of his biggest holdings. If he had to sell his truck to buy any coin right now, it would be Jito at a level slightly under this. I don't think we get that dip. I don't think it's going down 50%. So I'm fine holding this. And I mean, target, I don't even really have a good target here, right? I originally said $5 was the target, but that's pretty dramatized. But I think that I'm going to go along with Squid style and say, let's look at the flows. Look at as soon as everybody starts saying that it's going to go to $5, $10, then maybe that's the time to kind of reevaluate. Yeah, that's my thinking on there. What do you think?
A pretty solid exit strategy. Now, Thomas, we do have a fantastic guest waiting in the wings for us, so I'm very, very thrilled to bring on this first trader today. Our first guest has worked across product research and investing. He previously worked at EtherFi, and he's also an ex-Messari researcher, and we know how valuably we view these ex-Messari researchers. They generally have incredibly nuanced takes, and they have a great view of the market in general. Now, he is leading as a investment associate at Reciprocal Ventures, where he focuses on research, sourcing, and diligence. So welcome to the trading floor, Sam Ruskin. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
Sam, we hear you loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Cool.
So Sam, listen, stoked you're able to join us. Obviously, you've got a pretty colorful history in crypto markets. You're a veteran of many cycles. I'm burning to know, in your view, in your very experienced view, where are you seeing the market at the moment? Obviously, we're seeing AI stocks absolutely rip. We're seeing crypto kind of start to wake up after a very stale, very stagnant bear market. Do you think that the time has come for crypto to catch up, or do you think we're still not quite there yet?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a bifurcation in the market right now. Like, you're seeing a huge lack of interest in Bitcoin, while at the same time you're seeing a ton of activity picking up on chain, right? Like, for the first time in a while, we've got some really interesting stuff in the trenches, between meme coins, gotcha mechanisms, all that. Like, it's the first time I've probably been interested in on-chain stuff in a while, which is good because I feel like we had about 3 to 6 months of just really depressing price action. So I think it's nice. Like, in the background, there's always been this kind of up and to the right, like institutional adoption and interest in crypto, which is great. And like, hopefully that kind of continues to trend in that direction. But I think for the majority of like on-chain investors, they've seen none of that. It's pretty clear from like CT sentiment that like everybody thinks crypto is just absolutely cooked. And so, yeah, I'm excited about on-chain for the first time in a while.
Yeah, us too. Like we were mentioning that in the intro that it's fun to see this, right? Like I love it when people are having fun on chain, and it seems like Solana really thrives when people are using the chain and having fun on it. So, like with that, like what do you think is the most interesting part of on chain right now?
Yeah, we're definitely like doing a lot of meme coin stuff again, which is great. And like that's like Solana's bread and butter. And like now you're seeing activity really pick up on Robinhood chain, which is great. And like I think in a large part that's because of FOMO, which is just like absolutely crushing in terms of cycling the hot ball of money from like chain to chain to chain. And they've done it in like a much more fun way. So I think that's like a nice added element to things. What I would say is that like I don't necessarily I think meme coins kind of continue to be this sort of like zero or negative sum game. And so I'm not really looking for that to like sort of revive things. But I think the gotcha mechanisms are really interesting. We've seen collector crypt just absolutely crush it over the last like 6 months or 3 months. As Pokemon cards just are becoming like this like really, really, really hot commodity. And I don't think that trend is slowing down. I think this is a bit more of it resembles like a larger shift in how like people in society shop. And it's almost like this like sort of Eastern Asian influence on like Western society, in that you're seeing the gotcha mechanism pick up across like all sorts of consumerism. So like with toys, it was like Labubus and those like dumpling things. There are these like blind boxes, and you're seeing that become really popular with like luxury goods, like watches. It's just this like new sort of high stimulus shopping. And I think that translates so well to on chain. I think it translates well on chain and off chain, right? Like you're seeing Whatnot, this massive like streaming company, raise at a $20 billion valuation. What, when you like look at it's like, it's a little ridiculous. I mean, it's just like these streams of like people trying on clothes or ripping Pokemon packs, but it's created such a massive outcome that I think like really resembles where it really tells where the consumer is at today. And I think crypto is so like prime to meet those consumers like at that point, because like we've done such a good job fleshing out like the sort of collectibles trading markets and pricing markets, that I think like we had all of this like sort of like meme coin and like NFT infrastructure that we built for like these ridiculous products, but it's all been left behind. And now we have like a ton of interest. We can bring new, like more interesting products like Pokemon cards onto this. And it's like showing a ton of success. And I think that that trend continues.
Yeah, it's
I want to try poke a hole in that, Sam, very quickly. So, how much of Gacha's success do you think correlates directly to the TCG boom? Like, if the Pokemon card market crashes tomorrow, prices go down 50% across the board, do people still want to be playing Gacha? Do they, start doing Gacha for, like you say, like for Labubus, for blind boxes, for watches, things like that? Or do you think that
Yeah.
a crash in Pokemon actually just destroys that whole model?
This is the number one thing that's like, this is the number one question. And I think is the number one thing that's like holding like collector crypts valuation back, is that people think that it's like temperamental, and that this is just like a symptom of the Pokemon card bubble, which like, don't get me wrong. That is definitely like the primary tailwind here, is that the Pokemon 30th year anniversary is in September and people are trading off that catalyst. But they are increasingly launching new products. They just announced this partnership with WatchFloor, so they'll be doing more watches. They had World Cup tickets in the gotcha mechanisms. You're seeing other companies like BZ start to explore luxury, which I think is like really interesting trend. It's something like worth watching, but I think the way that the consumer is starting to treat collectibles as a whole, like as an asset class, is more like a luxury good. And we're seeing that in the way that like the prices of these things just start to balloon really quickly. And like there's a lot less there's a lot more like volatility in it. I don't think that trend is slowing down. I don't think that's limited to Pokemon cards. I think Pokemon cards are a great example of it, and they're super lindy, and the IP's been around for 30 years. But like, again, we've seen this happen with like all sorts of consumer goods, right? So I just think that trend continues. And I think that, again, like the beauty of Collector Crypt's model is that they don't really have to limit themselves to Pokemon cards, right? It's the same with like fake world assets. Like they're running this model on all sorts of products, whether it's like NFTs, you could do it with like home deeds, right? Like you could turn this into like a huge public stunt. That's what I'm looking for from Collector Crypt and like some of these other gotcha products is like, can they break out of the Pokemon bubble? And I just think they can, because this is what the consumer is asking for outside of Pokemon, right?
Something I actually suggested to Collector Crypt in the Discord a while ago was like a real estate gacha where you buy a ticket and you either get like, you know, a 3-bedroom villa in Bali, or you get like a parking lot in a central city, and you have this like
yeah. What if it's just land?
Yeah,
like land in Louisiana. Like you could just like buy an acre somewhere. I don't know. I think that's awesome. Like you could do all sorts of like really interesting stuff with these mechanisms. And I think that this is like, we've really only just started to scratch the surface. Like these protocols are super early. So I am actively watching that as the potential sort of like on-chain next runner or next meta.
Now, do you think that this on-chain activity is going to be driving the like flows into Solana, into other coins, or do you like how do you view that? Right. So anytime there's activity, you know, I get excited, people start using Solana more. Is that going to be that value going to be accruing? Do you think to Solana, to the collector's crypt card, like the cards token, or how do you view that? Like how do you play that?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of really interesting like collector crypt or gotcha like type tokens. Like you have cards, you have like collector group TCG, which is like launching their gotcha mechanism today. You have FWA. And I think those all are like great beneficiaries and like the sort of tokens you would want to watch out of this meta. But I also think that this is more of like a testament to like Solana remains the best place to launch a consumer app. We will see what like Robinhood Chain produces. Today it's just meme coins, which is totally fine. Like meme coins are a great narrative and they bring like a ton of revenue to the chain. And like, I don't think meme coins are going anywhere, but I also think that if you're looking for a non-meme coin consumer meta, I would like be paying attention to Solana over anywhere else. So I think as long as Solana continues to be the place where, the next meta happens, that like this value will inevitably at some point accrue to Sol as well.
Yeah, love to hear it. Before you step up to the trading floor, Sam, we ask you for the pitch and the thesis. I wanted to ask, what's your greatest trade ever? What's your most deviant moment on chain? And what did it bring you? How did that play out?
By notional or by multiple?
Like by multiple, by vibe, by whatever you would measure as a good trade.
I called Plasma at like 500 million in June when they launched their, or before June, I guess, whenever they launched their vault. And then when the token went live, I was like, yeah, this is like Tether beta. That's great. I think the one that I was really proud of was USDAI, just because it was like so unbelievably mispriced on Polymarket. And I've noticed that like any market that gets like a little bit too complicated or like out of the realm of sports or politics, like culture markets, pre-IPO markets, or like crypto, like pre-TG markets, all those are like ripe with mispricings. Because it's just like unbelievably complicated. The traders there are pretty low IQ. So like I pay attention to those pretty frequently. Like I just traded the Spider-Man box office. It was like what box office will perform best in 2026, or like what movie will do best like opening weekend box office. And Avengers Doomsday was at like 60% and Spider-Man was at like 16%. And I was like, there is zero way that is correct. I'm not like a big Marvel movie watcher, but I know enough ball to say that like Avengers IP is worth way less than Spider-Man IP. And that's exactly what happened. And I feel like that wasn't like a tough conclusion to come to. And I think you can just like as I scroll through the sort, like I'm seeing a bunch for like Emmy nominations right now. I think that like that Polymarket presents a lot of really interesting opportunities for like low market cap, like shitter volume. Like you can't really full stack any of these markets, but I'm having a ton of fun with like much smaller amounts and like seeing pretty cool returns or pretty cool multiples.
A battle of attrition on many small markets, I think, is actually a great way to start building up a lot of momentum. So, hats off to that.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I think something that crypto has taught us is that where there is friction, there is opportunity. So again, finding these kind of discrepancies is a great way to like find an edge. Sam, I do want you to step up to the trading floor. Now, you have a ticker or a thesis prepared for us. Lay it on us. What are you here to pitch today?
Yeah. Man, I feel like I kind of gave my best one with Spider-Man and Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty vocally bearish on like the hyperliquid trade XYZ relationship for the last couple of weeks. Not, I wouldn't say bearish, but skeptical, because I think it's something that like you're noticing that the hyperliquid community is starting to degrade into the same sort of tribalism that you would expect from like every other L1 community. And like, granted, I think we take like the hyperliquid community on crypto Twitter's opinions with like a grain of salt. I don't think they move that much capital, but I was pretty skeptical of how things would evolve between Trade XYZ and hyperliquid, because I think like in my mental model of how hyperliquid grows, you're going to see in like 3 to 5 years that like RWA perps are 99% of total volume on hyperliquid. And I think like this is a winner takes all model. Trade XYZ is going to continue to crush it. Like total lighter volume is something like 4% of all RWAs, and the rest is Trade XYZ. So it's like very clearly a monopoly. And I think that just gives them this like sort of unprecedented amount of leverage that people haven't really considered what they can do with. Whether that means they go multi-chain, whether that means that they go and like launch their own product, etc. I think the likelihood of that is like pretty low. I just think it's like something that we haven't really discussed. And people are very not open to discussing because they think it's like greedy and corrupt for Shoku to be like a profit maximize, or Trade XYZ to be like a profit maximizing company, and it wouldn't all just be about the hype token. Trade XYZ kind of clapped back like last week, and they bought some hype, which is cool. That like makes me happy as a hype bull to see. And I think in a world where they are buying back hype and there is truly alignment, that like with growth mode on, I mean, like hype could easily bring in like $4 to $5 billion plus in the next few years. And so these insane price targets that people are throwing around become a lot less unlikely if you're seeing just that insane cash flow. Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing a binary outcome here. On one hand, if we're talking specifically about hype, we either have growth mode switches off, Trade XYZ puts all their weight and influence behind hype, and the stars align for hype to absolutely rip. Or the bearish case is that actually there is some kind of dispute between Trade XYZ and hyperliquid, and we end up with some kind of fragmentation and proliferation that is actually bearish for hype. And maybe we have a unit token, maybe we have a trade token. So what of those two directions, which do you see is the more likely of playing out?
Definitely the first. Like for sure, base case should be that like the relationship is good. I just think that like at any given time on like a probability distribution, like there is a chance that like things are souring, or that like Trade XYZ sees opportunity to go multi-exchange, or to go like and build their own exchange. And like I think that became that, just like based off like what I've seen in the last week and them buying back and things that I hear, like it seems like that's less likely, right? I never really thought that that was like a super likely case, but I do think that like as Trade XYZ starts to become like an increasing, as their leverage over hyperliquid starts to grow, it's something that you have to monitor and understand, right? Because like we are sort of like captive to the benevolence of Trade XYZ and hyperliquid, right? Like there is a social contract where like the buyback happens from hyperliquid, and Trade XYZ is like maybe showing a little bit of interest in something like that. But at the end of the day, like these are centralized players. And every time there's a hard fork, which is like every few days or whatever, like the contract refreshes. And that hasn't changed so far, and I don't see any reason for it to change, at least on Hyperliquid's end. But for Trade XYZ, like I would look to something similar. And I think if you see any inkling that they are going to start like spending a large portion of their revenue post growth mode on hype buybacks, that's your signal that this thing's going to like $300 plus.
So when you look at that, then like, so how do you express this trade, right? Like you know, bearish on the relationship between them. I think a lot of people listening are mostly Solana maxis. So do you want to maybe explain like that relationship, like maybe a little bit better, and then how you would actually express this trade?
Yeah. So it's that Trade XYZ is a HIP3 deployer. So they have staked like something like $30 to $50 million in hype. And they're able to buy and launch tickers that appear on the Hyperliquid front end. They do this primarily for RWA perps. There is a fee split between Trade XYZ and Hyperliquid. So 50% of fees go to Trade XYZ, 50% of fees go to Hyperliquid. The fees are actually double on RWA perps. So that nets out where Hyperliquid earns the same amount off of RWA perps that they do traditional perps. I think it's like worth also noting that seems like takers on Hyperliquid are pretty fee insensitive. So like maybe it speaks to like how they could juice up fees in the future. Who knows? We'll see. But I think the way to express the trade is to like remain very bullish on like hype the asset and be open to like monitoring this relationship and being critical as it like develops and as Trade XYZ like kind of deepens their like as they become a more important part of Hyperliquid, which they're already an incredibly important part of Hyperliquid, right? Like they're 50% of total like RWA volume today. But that could easily be triple like crypto perp volume in a year, right? Like the trend is very rapidly up and to the right. So this is great. This is like a great thing, by the way, for Hyperliquid. Like they'll make a ton of money off this. This is awesome. It just creates this sort of like centralization risk that I think like for any company ever, like when you have like so much risk tied up in one single place, like it's worth watching, right? So yeah, I think it could go like a couple different ways. I remain very bullish, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so this doesn't even factor in the revenue that comes from Circle as well, which is, you know, perhaps a different topic we won't go too deeply into. But looking at the chat here, Sam, if you were someone looking at entering hype now, would you be wanting to wait a bit and kind of have a bit more of a dip? Would you be saying allocate now and be ready to go in a bit further? How would you be, you know, sizing into something like this right now?
Yeah, I mean, from like a multiples perspective, like it definitely looks expensive, which is not necessarily a terrible thing. Like you could argue that it looked like cheap before and now it's catching up. But I don't know. It's really hard to predict like where the market goes next, at least for like the next few months. It seems like we're like remaining in this sort of like downward chop and trend. This last run up was most definitely DAT driven. So the DAT per had like a ton of money per the primary DAT Hyperliquid. They deployed they were deploying like 100 million plus per week. And so that was pushing up the price of hype. Now at this point, like it's tough to say, like through that deployment, you saw a lot of capital shift hands from whales that had made like generational wealth on Hyperliquid and were up like insane multiples to new holders. And I think that creates this really interesting price floor where like before you could draw up all these crazy volume scenarios, but at the end of the day, like people were just seeing green. They were in like insane generational profit. And now you have a lot of new holders that are at or below cost basis that are probably thinking very differently and underwriting different scenarios and like holding based off those scenarios a little bit more tightly. So I think like you can try and target lower. People have been doing that for like a while, right? Like I heard so many funds and VCs that were like, yeah, I'll buy at 20 or like I'll buy below 20 when it was like at 38. And obviously that like never came. And I think that you can probably like whatever your price target is, like everybody else's price target is. So like you should probably be conscious of that.
Yeah. Final question. How much of an overhang is the potential airdrop supply? Because obviously there's still this, the rumors of season 2, season 3. It's a huge amount of hype allocated for this. Is hype being held hostage by this allocation?
I would flip that around. What do you think the price of hype does if they were to burn 33% of the total supply today?
It absolutely rips. But look, do you think do you think there's a chance they actually do that? Because I think a lot of people who probably would be very happy because if you're trading on hype, you probably own hype. So are you willing to trade in your airdrop for the sake of a 30% supply burn? I don't know. It's a fun game theory element.
Yeah, I think if you're Hyperliquid, there's no reason to make the decision right now. Like, it's nice to have that in your back pocket should you face like a massive off-chain competitor like Robinhood launching their own product, right? Like, then there's all this. There's just like a ton of scenarios where like that sort of airdrop can come in handy. So I think that they're being strategic about it, and there's no reason to burn it. But I also think that for that reason, you have to be like really conscious of using FDV as a metric instead of market cap for Hyperliquid. And when you look at Hyperliquid on a market cap basis, like, the world starts to change a little bit and you start to get like a little bit more bullish on things.
FDV is a meme. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, one last question here. I got to ask it. So there's like rumors of like a trade token drop, right? If they drop a token, what does that do to hype?
Bad for sure. At least in the short term, like just would be a ton of dumping, but also those rumors are like totally unconfirmed. And I think they started in like VC and fund circles. And like, that's not a reliable source of information for Hyperliquid typically.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very, very hard to confirm any sort of information flow, around Hyperliquid. And so I, again, think it's something worth monitoring, but, and also like Trade XYZ has every right to do whatever they want as far as like token or IPO launch, like, they're their own company. But I also think that like as a hype bull, it's something that you really have to like pay attention to and price in the probability of at any given moment.
Fantastic. I can't believe we've been doing this show for a month and no one has come on to Chill Hype yet. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. If people want to learn more about you, about Reciprocal Ventures, where can they go? Who can they talk to?
Yeah, just hit me up on Twitter at 0xCryptoSam.
0x. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
Like I said, Thomas, I can't believe we've been doing this for a month and no one has come on to chill, one of the best performing crypto assets of the last decade.
Yeah. I mean, it was good to hear like kind of a full breakdown of it, right? Rather than just kind of a hype has buybacks, it's going to 1 million, kind of actually like break down like what's going on there. The Trade XYZ relationship is, infinitely interesting, right? Because when I think of hype, I think of perps and I think of RWAs. Right. So like that relationship is very interesting to me.
Yep. And speaking of infinitely interesting, our next guest is someone who most of Solana will be very familiar with. His name is Yash. He's deeply involved in the AI sector. He's running a zillion different agentic trading bots. And I believe he's now working on something called Suzi AI. Yash, welcome to the trading floor. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. GM, welcome.
Better now that you're here,
thanks.
because Thomas has been trying to get his AI agents to trade profitably for an extremely long time, and he has not been able to do it. If you, Yash, were able to give Thomas any advice on how to spin up a profitable AI trading bot, what would that be?
Yeah, first of all, I think like if you just say that go agents make money, it won't work, because if you think from a conceptually point of view, like AI has been trained by historical data, but markets aren't historical looking, they're forward looking. Like you price a company on what it would be, not like based on what it has been. So I think like for valuations and everything is prices are always forward looking, but the training data is backward looking. So just from a training data point of view, it will always give you bad results. And if someone even makes money, it's completely out of luck. Like it isn't that AI is doing anything great. So I think like in general, LLMs wouldn't be like good at trading by default. Now there are like some things that matters. For example, live data feeds. If it has good sources of this data source, it would be good. For example, this podcast can itself be a good data source. Whatever people are telling, this can be a source, and based on which an AI can form a thesis and trade some instruments based on that. So I think it needs good data sources first of all, and the liveness matters a lot. So if you are using Twitter as a data source, that can be a really good data sources. Twitter, YouTube podcasts are a really good data sources because podcasts keep talking about different theses. So that is really good data sources. And then another thing which people think is that, okay, if you give money to AI, it would be able to decide when to put in which. It will just follow a very basic formula like Kelly criterion or something like that. But conviction is something that you can't outsource to an AI. That is something that we as a human only have, that how much conviction we have on a particular trade. So I think like if you are able to tell AI that this is your way of seeing a conviction, that if you see that it's very underpriced and you put like 80% of the portfolio or 50% of the portfolio, then it can do well. But that is something which is very personal. I think like if you give or guide AI well, then it could do something on the conviction level. And then on the execution level, I think AI is really excellent at executing because it doesn't have a lot of constraint which we as a human have. That is, it can run 24/7 and all of that. But at the end, I think it all starts with a good strategy and also like good data sources, because if that's not there, it will just trade based on the training data, and it would just do some random stuff, and like the strategies won't be unique and so on. So yeah, these are like the fundamental concepts which should be applied. Otherwise, like you're just telling a black box to trade for you, and it will just do random stuff which won't even make sense. So I think like yeah,
which
agentic
is
trading.
exactly
Yeah,
what happened. So I mean, basically what I did is like, all right, agents are a big thing. AI's here. Like, why don't I have this supercomputer go out and do all of the research for me, track everything that's going on in the world, and then, translate that into trades and make me millions, right? Like, that's what I thought it was going to happen. Instead, I was paying like $100 a day in compute for nothing. It didn't, like, the payoff wasn't there, and I didn't really know what I was doing when I was building it. But is that concept actually like the right way to look at it? Like, is there going to be, I would assume this is probably something that you're building, but like the idea that like, all right, we can scrape all the data in the world. We don't need to monitor the situation all the time, 24/7, and we can execute those trades for you. Is that the way that these AI agents are going to actually trade or play, or how are you viewing them in general?
yeah. So let's break them step by step. So I think the first way, like any human, like let's first think like how a human takes a trade. So first of all, like we keep browsing Twitter feeds, or some of our friends sends us that you should buy this token, and this is the narrative behind it. And then we start forming our conviction that okay, like if someone has shared something, or if something is happening, that AI trade is getting hot, then I'd be like, let's buy Nvidia. So then like my conviction starts forming, and then I take a trade. So, and based on that, like I keep reallocating between different things. So that's how like a human brain or a human trader works. Similarly for AI also, AI, if you give them like these are the data sources that you should look into it, it can check the data sources, it can transcribe any YouTube podcast, search for anything. Like it is very good at digesting large forms of data. So you have to tell it like what exactly is your data sources, or what exactly is your strategy here. Like your data sources can be as simple as just the price feeds, like OHLCV data, where it can do technical analysis. So can you hear me?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
still
I can hear
here. We're just resetting our cameras. I think we
Okay,
had a
okay,
small
sorry.
glitch on our side where we were frozen, but you can keep going. We're still here.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, it all completely depends on the data sources you give, and as you give
Yeah.
the data sources, then you have to think about the conviction part. And this we believe truly that humans are the ones who have the conviction. AI can have conviction, but on its own, it is convictionless. Like it's how it's designed. So, in that case, we always allow a human to have a conviction, and then they can take a trade. So we are not a huge believer of autonomous trading, that you just give AI $100 and it will make money for you. It's not possible, to be honest. So what we do is like we use AI only at where it's good at. Like conviction is something it's not good at, so let's not use AI at that part. You can simply like place trades via normal way that you currently also do, but AI helps you just analyze like large forms of data. And then once you have done this, like another thing AI is really good at is personalization, like thinking about how your portfolio has been doing, what are the risks, what are the positions which can get liquidated, what are the events which changed, which impacts your portfolio. So then it can give you a daily summary of how your portfolio has been doing, what are the things you should care about, if there's anything which is getting liquidated. So this is something that as a human it wouldn't be possible if I have to go through a large portfolio, that I have to go and click and check everything. So this is something that AI can help me give a digestive format. So
Yep.
here we use AI again. So yeah, our entire philosophy is that there's few parts which human originally does it very well, for example, conviction, then figuring out which data sources or what to even trade. For example, they need to trade prediction markets or perps or meme coins, that part. And another is like coming up with fresh ideas. Like can't AI can't come up with like fresh narratives. If it has some data sources, it can obviously think it. But I think at then humans are the curators of new narratives, because narratives are mostly emotional, and there's something that you kind of predict that this will be hot in the next 3 months or 6 months. So yeah, there I think like humans are again superior, and that's why we think that humans only should do that part of the trading process. So yeah.
Okay, I think I have a question you're probably well positioned to answer, Yash. We live in an age of 24/7 trading. You know, perps indexes mean that you can trade aftermarket, you can trade overnight, you can trade pre-market, and a lot of earnings calls and earnings reports gets released during this time. Do you think there's still edge in spinning up AI agents that can trade these earnings calls, you know, by analyzing data as it happens, or do you think that that has already kind of been filtered
I
out in
think
the
it
market?
was already exploited 15, 20 years ago by HFTs. So I think like there's no edge in there unless like you have a very specific prompt there. So let's say if you tell that I believe that the earnings would be higher, but if it's lower, then buy me that thing. So there you are telling that you have an edge that if it's lower, then it's a good time to buy a stock. So I think like if you have a specific opinion or edge, then you should do that. But if you are just thinking that okay, like based on the earning calls, I'll just like keep trading, I think like it would not be a good result, because those would be anyway front run by HFT. So I think if you're trying to have like think of agentic trading as a way to compete with hedge funds, I think you're completely wrong, because hedge funds have already built all these parsers and they have been running all these ML algorithms, and they would be having their own proprietary LLMs also. Like for example, Jane Street has a huge $1 billion worth of compute budget every year. So I think they already run huge data centers and they already have that edge. So you can't compete with those hedge funds. So I think if you have a specific opinion or a specific niche, then I think like agents help you express and execute them. But again, you can't outsource an opinion or even a structural edge to an agent unless you have designed something which is very high latency and you believe that you are out competing HFTs. So yeah, I think like and then you need edges. Agents can't give you that edges as such.
Amazing. Now, do you think that
Yeah, I saw a lot
do
of
you think
posts
that
on.
AI agent
Sorry,
do you
go on,
think
Thomas.
AI agents are like the new algorithms, right? Like there's a lot of like algorithmic trading in TradFi that goes on, right? Do you think that where we're going that AI agents are going to take the place of them?
Yeah, I think AI agents, if you have a specific strategy in mind, then AI can obviously help you convert that into an algorithm. For example, if I think that the prices of, like for example, one of the strategies which a lot of people were doing for a few days was that the price feeds of prediction markets were delayed for by 10 seconds. So if you can get a better price feeds, you can actually exploit that. And few people also exploited that, and after some time like it stopped becoming an edge because polymarket also updated on the end, and that was a structural edge which existed for almost 5-10 days. So I think such types of things, like even people like us, if we discover any edge, we can just apply and use AI to convert that into algorithms. But I think like the problem with all these strategies is that these strategies are very short lived. Like even if there's an arbitrage opportunity exists, like it would be getting exploited if the reward is big enough in the upcoming days. So I think like there would be pockets of such strategies which will keep appearing. Even in, I would say Solana is a place where a lot of new assets keep coming every day. So one of our users actually used to run a strategy on Pokemon cards. So what he used to do is like he used to snipe Pokemon cards based on the fair value which were listed, and he actually made like $3,000, $4,000 using our platform. But it only existed for 10 days. After 10 days, he wasn't making money, he was losing money. So, and 10 days, like it was a short profitable strategy, because after 10 days, like many other people also started building the same thing. They also realized that someone is making money, so why not us also make money? So I think like such type of edges exist in pockets, and us as a platform or any AI as a platform can help you convert this into algorithms. But I think like it won't exist forever, because if there's no free lunch in finance, as simple as it is. So I think like yeah, agents also can't exploit free lunch unless you think that you have an edge or a momentary edge in that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of like the strategies that work, you probably will not hear of, right? You'll hear about them after the trade is done and after their edge is gone. So speaking of edge, other than, the Pokemon story that you just told, do you have any wild trade stories for us to hear where, your clients or you were using AI and you like found the edge and you hit something big? Like what are some of the wildest trades?
Yeah, so I think like one very simple trade, or I think like the theme of the show is also to shill a ticker. So I think like pump was one of them. So like the story goes like 1.5 months ago. So like I basically set up a agent which analyzes all the fundamentals of different things, and it uses DeFi Llama as the data sources and tells me what are the mispriced tokens. And my agent came up with this thesis of pump. And what it did was like used a simple methodology where it was calculating fees by FDV. So how much fees something is generating and how much FDV it has. And by that thing, like even pump was like has a huge difference between all the things. Like all the different players had like very high FDV but very low fees. But pump had the reverse. Like pump was at 1.4 billion FDV at that time, and the fees was 2 million per day. So it found this using DeFi Llama only, which is a very popular data sources.
Yeah.
Even I could, as a human, could have just gone and look into it, but it calculated just like based on like whatever things it thought, and it gave me that like pump is a good thesis. So based on that only, like I thought like yeah, this makes sense that FDV is very low, and if I believe that meme coins are to come back, then I think pump is a very good bet, and they have been consistently making revenues. And at that particular day, the revenues of pump and hype was same, but pump was at 1.4 billion and hype was at 70 billion FDV. Like this was of June, I think June 28 or 29. So I took that trade, and of course, like it went well. Like pump is at 2.8 billion FDV, and I still hold that trade just because like I believe in pump and I have a huge pump position. But this was one thing where AI helped me get this thing, and then conviction again depends on me. Like AI told me that this is alpha is as per it, but there are like many other trades also which it gave to me, and I rejected that trade because I didn't have conviction. But this was one thing that AI gave me, or AI just like did a basic maths, and it told me that it can be a good buy, and then I just like bought it as per that. So yeah, this like one example where personally like it was successful for me, and I think like fundamentally it also made sense back then, and also now also like I think $2.8 billion is pretty low for pump. I think particularly like all the tailwinds they have recently, I think it's a really good trade. So if I have to also sell a ticker, I would sell pump here as the trade or the ticker.
I like it. Now we've been talking
Okay.
about pump earlier. I don't know if you heard, but I'm long pump and Finn is short pump. So you
Short
come at
term.
an interesting time to this conversation. But we'd love to hear some targets for pump if you have them.
Yeah, I think I'll start selling from 4 billion. I've already sold some of them, took some profits because you should always be selling. But I think from 4 billion, I'd start selling more aggressively. And the reason being that if you think, like based on publicly, they have disclosed that they have $2 billion in treasury. So I think that's kind of a floor. Like the and enterprise value is like at least $2 billion. So because they have that much amount. So I think like currently it's like basically the enterprise value is like 700 million because 2 billion is the treasury they have. So I think like that would like at least 2x premium like they deserve. So I think based on that, like 2x is the minimum multiple. And then I still hold some of them for a longer time. And the bigger target I have is $10 billion. And for that, my entire thesis is that meme coins will come back again. And there's, I would say they're still here, like in my trenches chat, like people keep chatting different tickers all day. And I think like currently liquid funds aren't buying pump because they don't believe that these numbers are real. But I think when liquid funds realize that these numbers are actually real, and when they start seeing everyone taking the same thing which happened with hyperliquid would happen with pump as well. Hyperliquid was also that something that VCs didn't believe until it reached $10 billion. After $10 billion, all VCs like Multicoin, Paradigm, the herd of VCs came and they bought like lot of money. So I think like there's a lot of institutional capital which is waiting to enter pump. They still don't believe it. I think once it starts growing, they would be like, okay, why is it even growing right now? Then they would start paying attention that it has a really good mobile app. They would be launching their own stable coin. They have their own, they are also like getting rid of Sol as a pair and having stablecoin, which also adds to their revenue potential. And I think like the mobile app is pretty underrated. And then they have a huge treasury of $2 billion. So I think like from a business setup, like it's like a really good thing. And all the founders are still logged in as compared to other crypto protocols, like where founders have left or not, they are not that active. So I think from that perspective, every liquid fund will start buying in, and $10 billion is the feasible target. And for this, all this, like I think like the biggest thing it should happen is that meme coins again start coming into the mainstream narrative, that meme coins are the culture tokens, and they are not going anywhere. I think like they won't go anywhere. So $10 billion is completely on the bet on the investment thesis of meme coins. And I think like if that's true, like $10 billion is very easy as liquid funds start buying. So yeah, $4 billion and $10 billion would be my two targets.
I love it. It's music to my ears.
If I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Yash, there is an argument there that the meme coin trenches are essentially solved. We're getting more and more tokens. We're getting complete saturation. It's harder for tokens to do well in this environment because there's so many people bundling huge amounts of supply at extremely low valuations, and coins just aren't running the way they used to before. Do you think that something needs to happen at a structural level that changes this? Or do you think that it's actually just a result of the bear market?
Yeah, I think obviously a result of bear market and structure also, I think like there should be some changes. For example, there should be some tokens. For example, Ansem is right now at 180 or $190 million. So I think like few major tokens like them crosses $500 million or $1 billion, then people will start appreciating meme coins. Purely on a number basis, I would say 90% of the SOL activity or the economic activity of Solana is still meme coins. And you can't deny that. Like you check like all the app fees which is generating on Solana, and everything is like meme coins, and then small pockets of something on tokenized stocks or something on Pokemon cards and so on. So I think like if you believe on Solana, then you have to believe on the meme coin story, because that's just only story which is actually pushing the entire crypto only. Like if you think like all the meme coin apps are in aggregate are generating more than $15 million per day. And the whole perps of entire crypto, like the decentralized perps of entire crypto, they are generating less than 3 millions per day. So meme coins are still 5x the perp story, despite narrative wise perps are 5x the meme coin story. So I think like that flipping will happen as we see like some of the big runners happening. So obviously structurally some things need to change. And once we see like $500 million, $1 billion runners, then narrative wise it will also flip and people will start appreciating. So last 3 months, 6 months, like I've been talking to VCs, and all VCs are very bearish on meme coins. They feel that meme coins are dead, but they are someone who hasn't even traded a meme coin. So they don't know the real trenches story. So I think narrative wise, this would be flipping. And I think once it starts flipping, people will again appreciate that meme coins aren't going anywhere. Of course, there are a lot of bundlers or snipers which still happen, but I think like same thing happens with even other tokens as well, even stocks as well. Like there are always promoters who are buying at a cheaper valuation, or investment bankers who are doing all these pre-IPO deals and so on. So I think like there's inefficiency everywhere. It's all about that. If people want to gamble, they will always gamble, irrespective of all these inefficiencies.
Yeah.
And so if someone was, watching the show and wanted to take a pump position today, would you say just buy it now and forget about it for a long time? Would you have any entry levels that you would recommend? Obviously, nothing you hear today is financial advice. This is all entertainment and information purposes only. But yeah, Yash, if you had any ideas, what would they be?
4 billion, it would be 3 months, or I think even less than three months. I think pump will reach 4 billion in next 10 days or 15 days, if I have to predict as such. For 10 billion, I think it would take a long time. And for that, like I'm just betting that meme coins would again be a crazy thing. Few celebrities launching this, or some meme coins running to $1 billion and so on. And one of the reasons, like basically, I also bought Pump, or my AI agent spotted Pump, was because that also coincided with Ansem launch, and due to Ansem, Pump started making a lot of revenue. So the fee slash FDV ratio, which like AI discovered on its own, that was a huge thing, because fee jumped like 2x that time. I think like that, if you think that way, like Ansem was also a turning point for Pump, because it was the first token which was doing well. It went to $200 million, and it like generates fees for Pump in perpetuity. Like if you think like Pump has a huge network effect, so any meme coin has a huge network effect where it keeps generating fees in perpetuity, like as long as it is traded. So I think that way, like if it keeps trading, like all these meme coins and some of them start running, then the fee would also increase a lot. So fundamentally, $10 billion becomes more feasible. But I wouldn't say it happens in 1 or 2 months. Obviously, it would take 6 months to even 1 year, and it completely depends on the bull market. If we don't see a bull market, maybe we even won't see a $10 billion figure. So yeah.
We love to hear it. I love
Excellent.
the pump thesis. I think it's fantastic. I think 10 billion is realistic. Now I'm already in pump. Now, is there another trade that your AI is looking at and is seeing in a positive light that you'd like to pitch?
Yeah, so this is again like not a very good trade, I would say, but this one surfaced today only. It recommended Cashcat, and the thesis it gave was that Robinhood chain is still doing a lot of volume, I think like it's the second contender of meme coins to Solana. And if meme coins aren't going away, then like Robinhood would be the beneficiary. And another thesis it gave was that Robinhood has a huge distribution advantage. So and of course, if you see like the OG memes are the ones which get pumped a lot. So it recommended me Cascade, and it kind of made sense. But I think the entry is still expensive, like $150 million. So maybe at 120 or $130 million, like it's a good dip to buy. But I think, yeah, Cascade had the rotation of capital where a lot of OG people already sold. And I think rotation of capital is very bullish for any tokens because you want new and new holders. And that's how like it gets propagated to a lot of people. So I think it can become the OG Robinhood meme coin. And people would be like, okay, Robinhood is valued at $110 billion. So its meme coin should be valued at least $10 billion or $1 billion. So I think like there's some story to it. So like I like obviously it's up to my conviction whether to buy this or not. But I think Cascade is also an interesting thing if I have to bet on Robinhood story. Of course, I'm very bullish on Solana as a chain, but I think Robinhood is something which they have been executing really well so far. And I think like there's so many things that they can do right now, which they haven't even implemented yet. So there's a lot of tailwinds coming for Robinhood chain as a whole or Robinhood in general. And I think those tailwind would translate to Cascade because if you think there's no other token which you can buy on Robinhood chain, so Cascade becomes the Robinhood chain's beta. So basically, $140 million is the price you're paying for a Robinhood beta or Robinhood meme coin. So yeah,
do you have a target? Yeah, do you have a target for Cascade?
I think. Yeah, first target would be $500 million. Like if let's say I buy here, then $500 million, like I'd start selling aggressively. And moon target would be around $1 to $5 billion. And the simple reason being that if bull market comes and people are still trading a lot on Robinhood chain, and let's say if any normie wanna start buying meme coin, then Robinhood would show Robinhood chain as the primary interface for buying meme coins, and Cascade would always be the number one. So people won't think much and they will just like click green button on Cascade. So I think like that from that sense, it makes sense that if Robinhood start surfacing meme coins or even tokenized stocks a lot, then automatically Cascade comes in the top of the chart, and Robinhood has a huge distribution advantage. So I think like from that perspective, like it can go over $1 billion, or even $5 billion, because VIF, Bonk, etc., all floated on the same thesis that they are the OG Solana meme coins, and they went to $3 billion, $5 billion, and so on. So I think like possibly that can happen with Cascade as well.
Very ambitious. I'm haunted by Cashcat because I bridged over to Robinhood on a private RPC before the chain launched, and I didn't buy it at 500K because it wasn't the first coin on the
Yeah,
network.
I also missed
Yash,
that $2 million. So yeah, huge regret. So.
Yeah. Yash, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a delight learning more about the agentic way to trade crypto. If people want to learn about Suzi, if they want to learn about you, I saw you posted up a great tweet actually about your general thoughts on the bear market the other day. Where can they go and find that?
Yeah, website is suzi.trade. And if someone, like, we have been currently iterating with a very close set of users because AI is a very probabilistic system. So we want to see that we are able to solve all the edge case. So we have a cohort of 100 users. We have done around $20 million volume so far. So we have been iterating and working hard with all these users. So if someone wants to join the early cohort of users, we always welcome them. And if anyone wants to in general discuss also agentic trading, happy to share all my setups and all of that. But yeah, I would say in the next few months, we would start going more public. So we're also building a mobile app. Think of it as FOMO, but more of a AI rather than social thing. So that's also something that we are really excited about, how we can make it consumer technology where any normie can also just come and ask AI and start trading. So yeah, Suzi.trades is the website, and they can just DM me. I'll always respond whosoever DMs me about Suzi. So yeah, just DM me.
Amazing.
It's true. He responds very quickly as well. Like when I sent him the message to come on the show, he was back there within probably 20 seconds saying he'd be here. So yeah, send Yash a message if you have any questions about AI. Yash, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'll be checking it out for sure. Appreciate it.
All right, Thomas. So we've had Hype and we've had Pump. We've had probably the two most investable crypto assets in the market at the moment. Again, I'm shocked it's taken us 4 weeks to get here, but here we are. We have our third and final guest waiting in the wings, someone I'm very, very excited to speak to. You know him as Quicks. I know him as Solana's most famous and favorite fox. Thomas, What's your favorite quick story?
Let's see. We got to chat with him at Breakpoint. So he came on, and I also have a famous fox. He called himself a tropical fox, and I have a tropical shirt famous fox NFT. So bonded over that. But no, a big fan of his energy. I feel like Quicks always brings it. So excited to hear what he has for a trade. I mean, we've got some banger trades so far. So there's the man, the myth himself. Right there. Welcome,
Let's
Mr.
go.
Quicks. How we doing?
In a tie. Quicks in a tie.
Got to stay on brand, you know?
Looking good.
Thank you, man. Love seeing you guys again. Tom, that was such an amazing, that was probably one of my favorite interviews ever. We were like right at Breakpoint in that little glass booth. People were coming by, taking pictures of us like we're zoo animals. And it was a great conversation, man. And we got to connect a lot. And Finn, you've been a legend in the ecosystem for years, man. Like you need no introduction, absolute OG. So happy to be here, SolanaFloor. Let's get into it, guys.
Yes.
What's going on?
And for the record, we're running it back next year at this Breakpoint as well, I believe. So we'll make sure to ping you there and get you there. But man, we are excited to have you on, and we want to hear what you're up to. So a little change in the trajectory of the career, right?
Yes, sir. So we've joined White Whale Labs, and we've officially launched our first product, which is SatRush, a gamified mining game where you mine Bitcoin on Solana.
Okay.
So really interesting. And talking about Breakpoint, man, I'm so excited to see you in London. I'll actually be running back the Community Awards V2 this year. So
nice.
Really excited to get that going. Be talking with the Solana events team really soon, and we'll start the campaign. So it's going to be a lot of fun in London. If you guys haven't gotten tickets yet, if you're thinking about it, this is your sign. Go to London. It's the Super Bowl of Solana.
It's going to be awesome.
So, Quicks, you've been around Solana a long time. Obviously, on-chain is starting to heat up again. People are saying that bull run is back. How do you see market dynamics at the moment? Do you think we're there? Do you think we're on the cusp of something brilliant? Do you think we still need a bit more time? Where's your head at?
I think we are. I mean, we see a lot of people that are saying that we have one more push down on like BTC, maybe 65K, and, Solana sub, around like 60. But, I think regardless, when you zoom out on a macro perspective, if you're buying Solana Bitcoin at these prices, it dips down maybe 5% more. It's not going to make too much of a difference in like a 2-year time frame. I think that we're entering a really amazing period. We have a combination of culture mixed with the validity of the institutions. I'm really big on RWAs right now, and I love to see like MoneyGram coming and like building out on Solana. Western Union, PayPal. It all adds legitimacy to what we've been doing for the past 5 years when we were all just trading animal JPEG pictures. So I mean, it's been quite a journey.
Come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so SatRush, you mentioned mining Bitcoin on Solana. How exactly does that work?
Oh, so happy you asked. So we have, there's been previous mining protocols before, and we've noticed that the common denominator was like the token. So we wanted to introduce a game that allowed people to essentially DCA into Bitcoin. So users are rewarded in sats, which is CBTC, and they deploy USDC. They're also rewarded. There's 21 tiles. Round is every 1 minute. And as you're mining, you earn hash rate tickets that you can use to enter the 2 other vaults. We have an Epoch vault that is deployed every 72 hours, and we're building up our BTC vault, which once it hits 1 BTC, one lucky solo miner is going to walk away a full coiner.
Oh, sick.
The Epoch Vault has 21 winners, and we also have the Sat Strike, which can go off at any time, at random, at any tile. So we've had a lot of excitement. We've launched. It's officially been 1 week, and we're really excited to keep bringing this to the Solana ecosystem. We're working on the Secret app. We're working on future campaigns and partnerships. We're going to be at Breakpoint and hopefully a few other events leading up to there.
Yeah, I like this.
It feels like it might be one of the easiest ways to become a whole coiner in today's day and age.
I was going to say, it's not very common on Solana to see a lot of whole coiners out there or to really hold that much Bitcoin. So I think that anything that you can do to, get people to stick around, hold coins that they can hold for a long time, hold some Bitcoin, I think is fantastic. And I mean, to give out a whole Bitcoin, this is pretty exciting.
It is, and we wanted to kind of replicate the system of mining. You have 2 options. You can either mine in a pool, which is shared rewards, or if you solo mine, you have the chance of hitting, like the block on your own. And I think it's like a 3-something Bitcoin, maybe a little bit lower now, but we wanted to replicate that. And White Whale's been a big proponent in the ecosystem, just like a champion for like education and, really helping to try to drive the ecosystem forward. But everyone in crypto, you talk to anyone, you should have some diversity into Bitcoin. And, we wanted to bring that on chain into Solana in like a gamified way so that people can start DCAing into Bitcoin. Because as you're earning rewards on your BTC, if you don't claim it, you're earning APR on that. And currently it's around 1,500% APR.
What?
So if you're just leaving it in there, it's a great way to accrue more Bitcoin as you're having fun playing the game and with the potential to win really big rewards.
Amazing. Finn, you've been around for a while. Did you ever do any Bitcoin mining at all?
I've never done any Bitcoin mining. I think that was a time when I said that I'm too dumb to be involved in crypto. And while I am still too dumb to be in crypto, I think the barrier to entry has dropped quite a bit. Quicks, I have a question. Obviously, everyone loves Bitcoin in crypto. Everyone wants Bitcoin to succeed. Building a Bitcoin-centric project, being so kind of Bitcoin adjacent, do you feel like the Saylor issue is overstated? Do you think that Saylor is too much of a cloud over our heads and we need him to be wiped out before we can move forward? Or do you think that people are actually over-indexing on the importance of Saylor's bags?
Well, I think it's a factor that people just have to accept and adapt their investing into. And we have, in a comical way, created a character, Michael Whaler, who's the exact opposite of Michael Saylor. He's forever whalish and bullish on Bitcoin. He's always trying to accumulate more. He has this grand, crazy vision of what if all 21 million Bitcoin were on the Solana blockchain? What kind of world would that be? I mean, it's a little impossible, but it's fun to like think about. And at the end of the day, Bitcoin's the OG. It is digital gold, but you can't transact on this. Like this game literally would not work on any other blockchain except Solana because of the speed, the bandwidth, the latency. And so, every minute the rounds are going off and the rewards are distributed to, right now we're closing in on like 50 to 80 users every round. We're trying to 10x that, obviously, but it wouldn't work on any other chain. So this is a great way to involve like retail, involve like gamers, and even like Bitcoin enthusiasts who are tired of arguing back and forth and want like a different way to, earn more Bitcoin. This is an amazing opportunity for them to come on down to Solana, download your Soulflare wallet, hop on satrush.io, deploy some USDC, and start earning some Bitcoin. And who knows, you might hit a sat strike, you might enter in one of the vaults and win big, and or you might be lucky and be that full coiner and walk away with one full Bitcoin. And that's also something White Whale preaches. He always says everyone should strive to own at least one Bitcoin. Right now in 2026, that might not mean like too much, like it's 70K it may mean, but in the future, it's going to mean something. There's only 21 million of them, so being a full coiner, we feel that that's going to be, kind of like a revered role in society, I would say.
Definitely. And I feel like that's kind of how all cycles have played out historically. There's a bunch of other coins and then there's Bitcoin. And if you just held the Bitcoin, usually you outperform the rest of it. So I like that you're preaching that. I think that people should definitely have an interest in Bitcoin. It's like I fall for the short-term bearish narratives all the time. But you know what? I hold some Bitcoin, so it's all good. A question that I want to ask you.
Well, we need to talk more, so I give you some more like bullish optimism outlooks.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like forever bullish. Yeah.
I guess I've I've found that Michael Saylor selling and the market goes up is like it's one of the most hilarious outcomes, and also it's been making me more bullish. I don't know, I don't know how he managed to buy the top and sell the bottom. But you know what? Like the market's kind of turning around and I'm seeing some strength there. So I like to see that.
Yeah, I like the idea of a Michael Whaler who actually buys the bottom and doesn't even sell the top. He's just a Bitcoin accumulator.
Yeah, there's no bottom with Michael Whaler. He's just consistently buying. He only knows buy. There's no sell button in his wallet. He doesn't exist. He's only buying Bitcoin. And that's also something like we're building up our treasury to also like back that, and in the future, we're going to do even some more cool things. But again, it's all about educating people to accumulate Bitcoin, and you can without having to leave the Solana blockchain. You can stay on Solana, earn Bitcoin, earn yield on your Bitcoin, and have big chances for rewards. And we're building up a really cool community. So 100% if you're playing the game, you're looking for some different perspectives or some strategies, hop in our Telegram. Our team's active every day. We have some amazing community leads, and we're working on some really cool things to allow people to like build out on top of SatRush. We're trying to launch the Seeker DApp really soon, and we really want to be like a positive influence in the Solana ecosystem. So we'll be at Breakpoint. We have some other events and partnerships planned, and we're excited to get this narrative out there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think we all agree. We all want Bitcoin to succeed, and anybody who's on that mission and driving that force is someone we can get behind. Quicks, I want you to step up to the trading floor. You've even worn on your best suit and shirt. Welcome to the trading floor.
Thank you.
What's the trade?
Ooh. Okay, so I'm not too big into meme coins right now, and I was listening to the conversation earlier about like the state of meme coins right now, and I think it's really interesting because I don't think that anything needs to change. I think that this is just a progression. You know, like in the past, like I like Thread Guy was talking about it, like yesterday with like the joke with the plumbers, you know, and then in 2017 it was a lot different trading altcoins and ICOs, but now with millions of tokens launching, even the OG users that had huge influence it's an equal playing field. So I think that that's really interesting to see how it's evolved. I'm interested to see how it's going to evolve in the future. But to me, meme coins are still like very much on the risk side, and I do appreciate more like DeFi oriented plays. I'm really into like RWAs right now, and I think that there's some protocols that have potential for big rewards, big gains in the future. Like I'm looking at Meteora. I really like Cloud with Sanctum. Jupiter, of course. I think, you know, if they do their thing, they have so many products in their wheelhouse, so much revenue. And I think like projects like that are really important to pay attention of, you know, that are generating revenue in current markets, what they're going to do in the bull run, when there's FOMO, when more retailers are interested. And I think that those are some really good plays to watch out for.
I like it. Now, if you had to pick one of these and you had to say like, I'm going on this is my conviction for right now, which one of those do you like the best?
Meteora. I think that Meteora is because I love Sanctum because I stake my Solana with them. You know, INF is amazing. The LSTs, like there's a lot of DeFi you could do, but I think Meteora is one of the most undervalued products in the ecosystem. Being able to deploy yield is essentially being in a gold rush and selling, you know, the shovels and the picks, you know, and that's like my idea. Like I'm not trying to enter the trade and call the bottom, watch the top, and like be watching the charts, looking at resistance. I'm just trying to deploy yield so I can deploy liquidity so I can earn yield on the trades. And I think that that's one of the most amazing products, and they've been doing a great job. I love their team. I love the education that they do with the LP Army. Shout out Heavy Metal Cook. And I really think that that's a product that is going to become synonymous with like trading and with new people coming into the ecosystem, because I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked, unfortunately, trading memes and realize like, okay, maybe I'm not the person that should be spot trading, setting limit orders. Maybe I'm the one that should just provide liquidity, set my range, be comfortable in like my target prices, and just sit back and earn fees. You know, and then they also have great rewards campaign. If you're staking your Meteora right now, you're going to get rewarded in USDC, which I love. I love being rewarded in USDC and not like another token that I have to be forced to sell, hurting the chart. And so I'm really, I've been a Meteora user for years. So, and shout out the Solana ecosystem call. They're partnered with them right now. So I love seeing all the content and videos coming from Simon and Eno. So that would be my choice of the three, but I still love Sanctum, still love Jupe. And there's still a lot of other good projects in the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, Meteora is a beast of a protocol. One of my favorite parts about it is the community there. There's like this, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like this vibe that's like they just want to be in DeFi and chill, like, right? Like they deploy yield and they don't do anything and they sit back and make money. And it's like they're like on vacation, like at the beach. And I'm like, oh, like here I am making my yield and I'm on vacation. It's just fantastic content. And it's like every time I see it, I think to myself, I need to get back in there and start LPing more, which I'm not right now. So I need to look into this more.
And shout out Loki, because he's the fox that was making content. He was doing this daily where he spends everything that he earns LPing, and he was in Thailand. So I mean, it's really cheap to live in Thailand. Like I just came from there, I love it. But he earned like $30, and that would pay for like pretty much his entire day, like Muay Thai class, couple meals, trip to the beach and stuff. And like he was making really cool content. And I agree. I think that there's a lot of different like content that could be made around LPing to make it like fun and interesting. And the best part is that you could use it for your conviction plays. Like I know you guys were talking about Ansem or Pump earlier. You know, if you're like unsure about like, okay, am I going to sell at 4 billion market cap? Is it going to go to 10? Is it going to retrace? Just open up a liquidity pool. And like with Ansem, for example, like you get rewarded like with airdrops, like for providing liquidity if like your wallet is like part of the snapshot. And so like there's still like a lot of like great revenue streams that you could create for yourself in projects that you're already bullish and have conviction on.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear it. Quicks, I do need to put on my cynical hat. I need to try to poke some holes in this.
Send it.
Obviously, I'm a big fan of Meteor. I've been a power user of Meteor for a very, very long time. Do you think that given the proliferation of prop AMMs, we talk a lot about how RWAs are coming on chain in record numbers, prop AMMs are going to give them the best execution possible. Do you think that in this world where the prop AMM has become the dominant liquidity venue on Solana, do you think that platforms like Meteora, like Orca, like Radium, these passive AMMs, can they still, carve out their own niche and make a statement on the network?
Absolutely. I think they already have. They've continued to adapt. Even if we look at X stocks, in the campaign that's going on with the X points, we've seen the adaptation for that. So I think these teams are really strong. They built really good products and a foundation, and they're going to be able to pivot to the market and new protocols to be able to compete. And they've already have such a strong foundation and a community as well as and a great education wheelhouse. So yeah. I think that they'll all be able to adapt and continue to thrive.
I like it. I like it. Now, when you're looking at Meteora, so it sounds like you're staking your Meteora. Are you looking at levels at all on this? I know all-time highs, what is it, over 50 cents about? We're sitting around 16 cents. Like, do you see this as like, because it's going to be a dominant venue for LPing, this has new all-time high potential, or do you even think about that? Like, what's your mindset there?
Absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you have to take profits. You'll never go broke taking profits. And so, yeah, I do have some exit level points, but essentially, yeah, like you said, anything under like that all-time high of 50 cents, like I'm still accumulating. I'm still bullish because I'm here for the long term. And right now, the staking reward system is amazing. So I really would like to see where this goes, how much it grows. And, and then in the future, I'm fairly confident that we are going to hit all-time highs and then go past those prices as well, as more people come into the ecosystem, are deploying liquidity, or realizing, the value of the MET token. And so to me, this is a long-term play. And to to subsidize that in the meantime, I'm going to be getting the rewards from staking. And so I'm not like in liquidity pools anymore for MET. Any MET I acquire just goes into staking. I now focus my attention on mainly the stocks right now, mainly on X stocks, because the X points I'm trying to accumulate, and I'm hoping for a good airdrop, hopefully this year. But yeah, I've shifted now to stocks, but I'm long term bullish on that.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Yeah, I feel like I used to use LPing a lot for like a savings account. You put it away, get a little bit of yield, and you don't really check it every day. I even got into some single-sided LPs to take profits on meme coins, but I found out that was poor form. So you're not supposed to be doing that. Is that true? Debatable.
You're gonna ask like different people. Yeah. It's we say in Thailand like nit noi. Yeah, say it a little bit. So depends who you talk to. I don't really have an opinion too much on that, because again, like with meme coins, like like Ansem would be like probably the only meme, like Ansem and Pump would be probably like the only like meme coins I'd be deploying liquidity to. There are some LP armies that are like in trades maybe 7 minutes with these like new pairs, but that's a little bit too spicy for my investment style.
I like it.
Quicks, what would invalidate this thesis for MET for you? Is there a black swan event that would mean that you go, actually, I don't believe in the future of liquidity provision on chain, or are you guns to the wall? This is a done deal.
I mean, look, nothing in this ecosystem is ever 100%, but to me, this team has the capital and the balance sheet to back even a worst case black swan event of like an exploit, let's say. Their revenue streams are amazing. The business model is amazing. And I think that they're going to continue to dominate in the ecosystem. Like between the three of them, like Meteora, Radium, and Orca, I don't really see a new competitor coming in and being able to take any of the mind share and market share away from those three. I could see maybe like Orca or Radium ramping up a little bit, but right now Meteor is completely dominating, and it goes out to the community as well. That LP army is consistently onboarding new people, is consistently educating, and I think that new people that are coming into the ecosystem are just going to gravitate to there. And the thing is that once once these people come into the ecosystem, it's going to be very hard to change their mind. Like if they come in and learn how to do Meteora, and it's already taken them this long to come into the ecosystem, the chances of them learning Meteora and then switching over to Orca or Radium or a new protocol is, I don't have the math on it, but it's probably like very low, you know? And so I think that they have a great opportunity for onboarding. And yeah, I tried to like poke holes in it, you know, and it's really hard because they also do buybacks on the Met token as well. And so, you know, there's levels of support. Even if whales come in and start dumping, we may see like, you know, a big drawback, but I believe it's going to continue to recover. I think this team has a very strong, you know, game plan for their tokenomics. And again, I love the staking. I love that they pivoted to this new staking model.
I like it. Now you mentioned on-chain stocks before. What's your biggest X stocks position? What are you most bullish on for on-chain stocks?
Oh man, yeah, I'm gonna get clowned on this, dude, because a bunch of my friends always like joke with me about this. But SpaceX,
let's go.
You know, SpaceX, and I love the volume. I do like SpaceX, Nvidia, Tesla, you know, and so you know a lot of like the tech. But SpaceX has like great volume, you know, and I'm okay with like accumulating. And I took the hit from like 200 something down to like 115, 120, but that's okay because like I was adjusting my ranges, my bins, and I was just like providing more liquidity, rotating a little bit. And, you know, long term, I think Elon's going to do what Elon's going to do. If all of a sudden they announce that low Earth orbit, you know, commercial flights are going to be running in a year or two, you know, you can book now for 30K, bring your family up to space to float around. I think it could, you know, something like that announcement, you know, hasn't really been taken into account yet. And so, you know, for me, long-term play. But it also, I'm just so bullish on, you know, stocks on Solana, you know, in a market that used to be, you know, gate kept, you know, to geographically where you were, the hours. Now we can trade stocks 24/7 on any part of the world. You just need your phone, your Solflare wallet, and a Wi-Fi connection, and you know you're good to go.
Yeah, 100%. I just watched a SpaceX launch last night, so it's hard to avoid them in California. But yeah, I like that. It looks like everybody was talking about, you know, SpaceX stock going to zero like it was a meme coin when it was down in the $100 levels, but it seems like it recovered pretty well.
I think at some point SpaceX is going to be the biggest company in the world. I don't know how that price action goes with unlocks and everything. Maybe, you know, the price doesn't actually move too much as things get released and diluted. But yeah, look, you don't bet against Elon. He's the greatest KOL in the world. I think SpaceX will eventually, you know, rank up there with Nvidia in terms of market cap.
Yeah. And it could be like a longer time frame, or I could be completely wrong about this. I also, you know, 4 years ago, I was adamant on Web3 gaming, the idea of owning these NFTs, playing the game, earning rewards. You know, I was this is the future. So, you know, I could be completely wrong, but I think with Elon's track record and like his focus and, you know, what he's trying to do, colonize Mars, you know, moon based, you know, I think these are all ambitious, but he's always done it. He's always like, you know, he says he's going to make rockets land again. He's done it. And so I think that, you know, I would pay attention to the low Earth orbit commercial flights. I think that that's going to be an industry that it's going to be like $1 billion industry, you know, billions of dollars, that industry. So I'm excited to see the future of how this plays out. But until then, I hope people keep trading, keep speculating, you know, and because I'm earning fees the entire time as they trade.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You know, I definitely like that Meteora trade. I like the SpaceX trade, like hearing from you. So we really appreciate you coming on the show. Tell everyone where they can find you and hear a little bit more about you.
I'm at SolQuicks on every single platform. Every platform. I've monetized that years ago because I was very big on building a personal brand. But I'm here to definitely let you guys know, like, check out our new product, SatRush. You know, it means a lot. It's something that we worked really hard on and bring to the ecosystem. Like, we believe in Solana, we believe in Bitcoin, and merging the two worlds and being able to DCA while earn yield on your Bitcoin. I don't know any other protocol that offers yield on Bitcoin currently. So check it out. We'd love to hear more. If you have feedback, things you want to see, things you hate, things you want to see differently, let us know. The team's active, and you know, follow us, SatRush.io on X. We just got our gold check mark, new badge, who dis? And yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm bullish on SolanaFloor also. I just want to take a moment at the end to give you guys your props, man, because I know, you know, you've been through the ups, the downs, you know, the dark, the good, and you never stop. You have such a strong team. I really appreciate you guys, everything that you do for the Solana ecosystem, education, getting all the posts out there, keeping us up to date. Sometimes I scroll through the timeline, I see SolanaFloor, and now I hop into space and like, oh, where'd you find that out? Like, Quicks, you're so in tune with the ecosystem. How do you know? Oh, SolanaFloor, he keeps you updated, but I love you guys. And also got to shout out RMJ, the legend, man. He's one of my favorite people in Solana. He's not here right now. I know he's probably off somewhere, working, but love you guys, love your team, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
Appreciate the words, Quicks. Yeah, it goes a long way.
Really appreciate that, and appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thank you guys so much.
Sol Quicks, man, what a gentleman.
Matt, what a gentleman. I like the tie on
it.
It's a good look. Yeah, if I go back to Breakpoint last year, I think he had the curly hair, he had the glasses. It was like even like a headband. So the complete turnaround of character. But love to see it. A lot of alpha, I think Quicks was dropping there. I think Met is a sleeper pick for a lot of people.
Yeah, I like that pick. I feel like I've been sleeping on LPing for a long time, and it might be time to, dive back into some DeFi, right?
Yeah, time to dust off the old LP wallets and see if they still work.
Yeah. Have you seen any of Quix's stand-up on Twitter? He's been doing like Jerry Seinfeld style.
Yeah, they're great.
It's so funny. It's so good.
Yeah.
Good for him.
It's so brilliant to like carve out a tiny little niche and like deliver a repetitive sequence of series of shows. I think, well done, Quix. Very, very well targeted. Thomas, let's talk about trades. We had some fantastic trades across the desk today. Should we start with Sam? Sam over at the top with Hype. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Hype is, we talked about it at length. It's one of the most successful crypto projects of all time. Everybody in the world, everybody in the financial world is using it. Guys on the New York Stock Exchange, they have the Hyperliquid UI open up on their dashboards to track, out-of-market trading activity. Buybacks are incredibly strong. It's down from its peak. Very, very encouraging price action on Hype. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it's been down so much. I mean, down in the mid 50s, and I mean, high was 76 or so, and not that long ago. I mean, they're just a behemoth. Like, for a long time, I resented it, and was like, all right, this Hype is, it's coming and it's leaving. But I mean, I feel like they have really established themselves in, all of finance. And I think it's good for our entire industry, right? Like, sure, there's like a, Hype versus Sol rivalry, and, we want our perp dexes to be as good as Hype. But I mean, when you look at it, it's just too good to ignore, right? And if we're in crypto, we want it to do well, I think. And there's interesting relationship with Trade XYZ, but I mean, Trade XYZ is just like phenomenally done, right? Like the way that they were able to bring those RWAs on, like basically, this wasn't that long ago, but like gold, silver, oil, like all of those, when there was like mania in the metals and commodities, it was going off on Hype. Right? Billions of dollars of open interest. The markets would close at, whatever time, and then the rest of the trading action would happen on Hype. We want this to happen on Solana, but this is the reality, is like it's still going on Hype. So it's hard to avoid. If you miss the Hype trade, you missed out on a lot of money. And I think there was a lot of people that did miss it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fade this. I'm going to take it.
No, and something that Sam said that I really liked was that I asked him about this potential airdrop hanging over everything, and he said, "Yeah, but imagine if they burn it."
Yeah,
and I think that would be absolute scenes, the likes of which we cannot comprehend. I think if Hyperlook had turned around and said, "Yeah, this airdrop's not coming, we're just going to burn everything instead," I think people would be so stoked at the supply drop that they wouldn't even mind about the missed airdrop, let's say. Another thing I'm finding encouraging is that it's actually broken out of its downtrend slightly.
You're kind of breaking up there, Finn. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can hear you. Something I was just mentioning is that it's broken its downtrend that it was, in through a period of. We had a lot of lower lows and higher lows. That most recent candle has actually broken out of that trend there. So this could be, a local bottom forming for Hype. I think this is one of those ones, Thomas, where I'm probably just going to actually go rip a smart fill straight into where it is now. Maybe it does dip down a bit later, but I think this is a coin you can sit on in your wallet for a year and a half until the next bull run, and it's probably going to consistently do well. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning, you touched on the Solana Hyperliquid rivalry earlier. I think if the ceiling goes higher on Hype, if Hype continues to rip, that just raises the ceiling on what every single Solana perps dex can do afterwards. So I don't think it's particularly a cannibalization one win a zero sum game. I think Hype doing well means that everything else has permission to do well underneath it. So yeah, look, I'm not bearish Hype based on its success.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with you, right? Like we're trading on JTX right now. They're going to be, bringing perps on, and we would hope to see it, be a serious competitor to Hype. But, the time frame is that's not happening today. That's not happening tomorrow. And I mean, Hype, the asset, is also a great asset, right? They do a lot of buybacks, and it is a team that is absolutely shipping and has changed the industry, right? They set a new standard. So I think I'm fine ripping in a smart fill right here as well. I mean, I hate to just fully agree with you, but I'm on board with it, right? That was a good breakdown that he did. So I'm gonna hop in with 5% of port.
Yeah. Actually, looking at this chart, maybe it is going to touch back onto this kind of this little volume distribution of a few bars back. So yeah, I'm probably going to rip 5% in right now, and I'm going to throw a limit order just in the middle of this this mesh here. It's a short drop.
What are you
back.
on, like 54?
Slightly up higher.
Slightly higher.
Probably a bit higher. Yeah, just around there. Yeah, I'll drop a limit in there, and if I get it, that's great. If I don't, then that's fine. But I'll be doing 10% of the port in total, 5% now, 5% in this mesh.
Let it rip. I'm doing a smart fill right now as well. This way we can't beat each other on the execution, right?
Yeah, exactly. As is often the case.
There we go. God, I love those smart fills. So 5 transactions for me went through. Let's just take a look at the trade history. I love seeing it. And the price was all 56.32 with 2 at 56.33. So great.
Yep. I'm just checking on mine now. I've drawn up a fib level, and the 0.5 is telling me it's going back to 54.72. I think that level might be front run, so I'm going to set a limit order, 5% of the portfolio at just a nice clean 55. And that's set, and hopefully that hits when the time comes.
Yeah, I think the way that you could probably look at this too is like, all right, we think that all of crypto is going to go up, right? Like I don't think that everything is going to move independently, right? I think that liquidity flows into all of crypto. Everything's going to go up, and Hype is one of the top platforms, right? So it should be catching some of that liquidity, and especially if it keeps kind of gaining that traction that it's seen in TradFi. It's definitely, I mean, you got to keep an eye on that chart, right?
Yep. Hype, absolute behemoth, wouldn't fade it. Thank you, Sam, for bringing that to the trading floor desk. Finally, I've been waiting for someone to come and pitch, one of the most successful apps in crypto history. Moving swiftly on, we had Yash, who came in with quite a similar thesis for Pump. Obviously, Pump, pound for pound, is the most investable product in crypto. Incredible revenues, incredible buybacks. It is a train that cannot be stopped. I am very bullish on Pump long term. I think it's just been on such a blistering run that I'm not quite comfortable actually going straight into it right now. Thomas, what's your read here?
Yeah, I'm bullish over here. Let's see. It has been up quite a bit, right? If we zoom out a little bit, right, we're up over 2x in the last couple months. So we are at pretty high levels. But also, with all this on-chain mania, like I struggle to see it really dropping that much from here. As I said before,
I worry I might have actually just lost you there, Thomas.
Yeah, I think my screen share ended, but hopefully you can still hear me. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, should I reshare, or should we just hold off on resharing so we don't?
I'll bring mine up, and you can run me through what you were saying.
All right, you know what? Your audio is coming through a little patchy. I'm not sure if it's me or not sure if it's Twitter. I'm gonna blame X, and I'm gonna blame Elon, and then we should short SpaceX.
Yeah, I think our Twitter connection is probably the least of Elon's concerns. But let me bring up the pump chart, and I'll let you riff over what you're thinking when you see this.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm seeing all right pump chart. Now I personally am very bullish on pump. He mentioned a $10 billion market cap potential. So that was fully diluted. So that would be what, like a 4x from here. He like the $4 billion mark for early take profit. I mean, I think that the best way for somebody like me that's not going to be playing in the trenches all the time to actually get access to this is to just buy pump, right? So I'm going to YOLO in right here. You could maybe catch a small dip here, but I like it. I mean, I think I'm going to go in and I'm going to buy me some pump. Let's see. Part of what I wanted to do as well is get rid of some of these other coins in my wallet, but I'm going to go in 10% pump smart fill at this current level here, and I'll take a little profit at the 4 billion mark.
Right. Good execution. We like that. Again, very bullish on pump long term. I think it's going to be.
You know what, Finn? I can't quite hear you. You might want to take that screen share off.
Yeah, I'll drop that screen share. That's a shame. Look, as I mentioned, I'm very bullish on pump long term. I think it's just run a bit too hot in the past few weeks. Obviously, incredible team, huge amount of money, huge amount of revenue, great buybacks. Everything is trending in the right direction for pump. I just think it's run a bit too hot. I'm probably going to set a limit for a bit lower. I like this level around kind of 0.00245. So I'll drop probably 5% of the portfolio there at that level. If we go there, great. If we don't, I'll take that L basically. But I do think we are going to see it for now.
Would you, if we had leverage right now, would you rip another short on stream?
I would rip a gentle short. Yeah, I would say it probably goes back down to at least 0.0026. Man, hopefully that plays out. Otherwise, I'm going to get clowned for the rest of my life for shorting the most profitable business in crypto. But look.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part that I don't like. So I don't really like shorting crypto coins, especially ones that I am long-term bullish. I'd rather just like hold through the dip. But yeah, that's interesting. All right, we hold. I mean, we could set levels at the $4 billion market cap or $10 billion market cap, or we could just sit back and see how it plays out. I'm fine just leaving this as is for now. Are you doing? I mean, you have a limit order set. Would you set any levels above, or would you just kind of let it ride?
I'm going to set my level at 0.0246. I'm not going to have a take profit there. I'm just probably just going to let it ride. And it might even be worth throwing like a 5% stop loss there as well, just to make sure that you're not going to get left behind if it does kind of tank for whatever reason. So that's probably worthwhile doing as well. But yeah, limit order has been placed, and hoping that hits. But maybe the animal spirits will not let me have this one.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Yash's AI is right. I need to check that out and get some better research out there. But I mean, it just kind of seems like all those narratives are coming together for pump. So I do like that. Now, what are you thinking about Quix's trade? You like Meteora? I know that you got pretty deep into LPing for a while, right?
I was a big time user of Meteora as an LPer. I still think it's a fantastic product. As an investable asset at the moment, I don't think there's a whole lot of interest for me personally. I think if you're as bullish on the prop MM movement as I am, I think that kind of swallows passive MMs with time. I think if we're basing the argument off buybacks, something like pump is a much more stronger investment thesis based on those buybacks alone. It's a great product. I don't know if the token is doing it for me just at this stage. What's your feeling?
I'm not going to take it either. I feel bad because I love Quix. No offense. I really like Meteora. I don't know enough about the token really to like. I know they do some buybacks. I just haven't been up to date on it. I don't have like a strong enough thesis for how value accrues to the token. And I mean, maybe this is the wrong way to look at it, but like I don't see, like, it doesn't come across my radar, right? Like I'm not seeing, like I see people LPing on the platform and they seem to be making money, but is that money going directly to the Meteora token? I don't know, right? So I'm not I am not bullish enough on the token to buy, I guess, leave it for some more research. I mean, it looks like a decent level to buy. Like if you look at the chart, like it looks like it's been down and has kind of leveled out for a bit. So I don't hate it. And I mean, I think that the platform is more interesting to me than the token at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we're aligned on that. But again, not to say it's a bad product. Obviously, Meteor is an incredible product. They do a fantastic job, and part of that, that white labeling of services, I think, is incredible for their growth as well. The way that other apps can use the Meteor stack to start, facilitating token launches. There's a very, very high ceiling where that goes from there. But look, ultimately, 3 incredible pitches on the trading floor today. Hype, we're taking. Pump, we're taking with various different styles of execution. Met, we're going to pass on. Thomas, which of our guests do you think really nailed their pitch today?
Oh, man, it was pretty diversified, right? I liked the hype pitch because I feel like I learned more about hype than I already knew. Right? Like I feel like that was interesting. Like I knew about Trade XYZ. I didn't necessarily know the relationship there. When he said that he was bearish Trade XYZ and that relationship, I thought he was going to pitch shorting hype at first.
So did I. Yeah.
So I thought he was going to pitch that. I thought that was going to be interesting, but I think that was just more of like that would maybe invalidate the thesis a little bit of his bullishness on hype, which. I felt like that was a good breakdown. I did really like that. What was your favorite?
Yeah, it's gonna be hype for me as well. I think Sam did a really good job of elucidating his thesis there. I think the fact that hype is currently in growth mode, and once that flips off, fees are going to go up, and I think people are going to continue trading there because the execution is great, and that's where so much liquidity is. So that's going to be a massive driver for hype. Obviously, the revenues that come from the Circle collaboration is going to be a massive boost for them as well. And it's down from the highs, so it seems like a pretty comfortable time to get in. Again, full disclosure, everything you hear today is entertainment and informational purposes only. There is no financial advice. Me and Thomas, we're just 2 journalists chatting to people who are a lot smarter than us on markets. So, don't think that anything here is financial advice. Thomas, any last words for our viewers?
Yeah, so last words, a little bit of a portfolio update. I'm also going to be dumping some coins and moving them into Zcash. No offense to any of the coins that I am dumping. However, I've probably hit below the stop loss threshold that I would have put for those coins. So I would like to apologize in advance to the Ket community. I have dumped your coin and I'm buying Zcash with it. I think I'm going to make the same move with Archeum and Backpack as well. So
full flush.
I like Zcash is below our buy level, so I'm liking this area here on it, and I feel like that's something we needed to do. I wasn't liking my portfolio when I was looking at it.
That's fair. I'm going to hold on for a bit longer. I think there is a good catalyst for Backpack coming up. On Friday, the SEC is going to have an open meeting about how tokenized securities get traded on chain, and they're going to hopefully give some policy or some regulation or some kind of legislation around that. They're calling it the innovation exemption. So maybe Backpack catches a small bit off that. If we get back into the positive, I will be setting nice stop loss to exit there. But look, otherwise, Thomas, it's been a fantastic show. We've had 3 incredible guests. Speaking now to all of you viewers, if you've got a ticker, a trade setup, or a thesis worth defending, please submit it through the public SolanaFloor tracker at perp.so. Otherwise, if you want to appear on the show, send a message to either me, Thomas, or the SolanaFloor X account, and we would be delighted to welcome you to the trading floor yourself to pick apart your thesis live in front of all of our viewers. We'll be back next week on Wednesday at 11 a.m. ET, and we will also be back on Friday for Solana Weekly News. Thomas, thanks so much for joining me again. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you in the order books.
Thanks, Ben. It was a blast.